Trump administration on imposed sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies as it called on Moscow to agree to an immediate ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. President Donald Trump had for weeks signaled he could impose penalties against Russia for its continuation of the war, but had failed to take major punitive measures until Wednesday. The announcement came as Trump said he had canceled an anticipated meeting with Putin because he didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get. In remarks in the Oval Office, Trump explained he felt it was time for the sanctions, noting he waited a long time to impose them. Still, the U.S. president said he hopes they won't be on for long because the war will end. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in a statement Wednesday that it was the time to stop the killing and for an immediate ceasefire. Given President Putin's refusal to end this senseless war, Treasury is sanctioning Russia's two largest oil companies that fund the Kremlin's war machine, he said. Bessent added, Treasury is prepared to take further action if necessary to support President Trump's effort to end yet another war. We encourage our allies to join us in and adhere to these sanctions. The sanctions hit Rosneft and Lukoil and almost 36 of their subsidiaries. The United Kingdom targeted the two oil companies last week, and the European Union formally adopted another package of sanctions, includes a ban on Russian liquefied natural gas imports on Thursday morning. The EU's sanctions envoy David O'Sullivan will meet with top Treasury Department official John Hurley on Thursday, a Treasury spokesperson told CNN. Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., Olga Stefanishina, praised Wednesday's announcement, which she said comes after numerous attempts to give Russia a chance to begin real negotiations to end the war. The decision is fully aligned with Ukraine's consistent position. Peace is possible only through strength and pressure on the aggressor, using all available international tools, Stefanishina said in a post on X, adding that she also expects strong decisions from European partners tomorrow, following the meeting of the European Council. Ukraine had been calling for increased pressure on Moscow as the war has raged on. Diplomatic efforts to end the war have stalled, and Russia has rejected the notion of freezing the conflict for negotiations, something that Ukraine and Europe have said they support. Trump said last week that he intended to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest. However, Trump said on Wednesday he had canceled that anticipated summit, telling reporters, "It just didn't feel right to me," although he said they would meet in the future. CNN reported earlier this week that Trump's hopes for a quick meeting with Putin had stalled out, with an administration official saying Tuesday there were no plans for a summit between the two in the immediate future. The impact of the new U.S. sanctions will be greatly determined by how they are implemented and whether the administration pushes ahead with secondary sanctions, one expert told CNN. So far, what's come out is these primary sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil, but the key then will be if there's a threat of secondary sanctions on banks, oil refineries, and traders in third countries who are dealing with Rosneft and Lukoil, said Eddie Fishman, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. In January, the Biden administration announced sanctions on other top Russian oil companies, but held off on targeting Rosneft and Lukoil. Officials argued at the time that they waited until the waning days of the administration to impose the sanctions in part because of the state of the global oil market and the potential impact on the U.S. economy. Trump has previously wavered on imposing further sanctions on Russia. When asked at the G7 in June why not impose sanctions, Trump said, "When I sanction a country, it costs the U.S. a tremendous amount of money," adding, "Sanctions are not easy. It is not just a one-way street." Wednesday's announcement came hours after Russia launched a large-scale air attack on Ukraine, including Kyiv. Earlier Wednesday, Bessent previewed the new sanctions as one of the largest, noting Trump's disappointment with Putin and the state of talks to end the war in Ukraine, following a summit in Alaska more than 2 months ago. President Putin has not come to the table in an honest, forthright manner, as we hoped. There were talks in Alaska. President Trump walked away when he realized that things were not moving forward, Bessent told Fox Business. There have been behind-the-scenes talks, but I believe that the president is disappointed at where we are in these talks. These are sanctions, not secondary tariffs, Bessent added. These are going to be substantial and powerful, and we are urging our European and G7 allies, plus Canada and Australia, to come along with us.